Ketahoyek, thinking about how we learn about the distant past. Listen or read the article below, and with a partner, answer the questions. There are questions embedded in this article. Stop reading and discuss the questions with your partner, agree on an answer, and each write it down. If you have different ideas, you can each include your own ideas as well. The New York Times, September 7th, 2011. Into the Stone Age with a Scalpel, a dig with clues on early urban life by Suzanne Fowler. Ketahoyek, Turkey. A pair of space-age shelters rising from the beet and barley fields of the flat Konya Plain are the first clue to the Ketahoyek Research Project, where archaeologists are excavating a 9,000-year-old Neolithic village. Ketahoyek, where people occupied mud brick houses from about 7,400 BC to about 6,000 BC, is 60 kilometers or 37 miles southwest of Konya in central Turkey. The area is dotted with gently rising mounds that obscure the ancient roots of urbanization and draw archaeologists from around the world. The area was first excavated in the 1960s by another Briton, James Mellart, now 85, who established that it had been home to an advanced culture of people transitioning from a nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a more settled farming life. Their houses were uniformly rectangular and entered by holes in the roof rather than front doors. Each had a hearth and an oven, plus platforms that seemed to have been used for sleeping. When a new house was needed, it was built atop the old one. The houses also served as cemeteries. The dead were buried beneath the floor. Another find this summer was a row of 11 handprints inside a house and above a burial platform. Still another was the discovery of a young calf's head that had been painted red and installed in a house above the platform that covered 9 burials. Discuss and write. What sort of materials would have been needed to build Ketahoyek, and what types of jobs would people have to do to build the housing? Page 2. One sort of pattern that we notice is that the paintings seem to be concentrated around burial platforms, Dr. Hodder said. We don't really understand what that relationship is. Is it a way to communicate with the dead? Another idea would be that the paintings are there to protect people from the dead or protect the dead from people. Over more than 1,400 years, as many as 16 layers of housing were formed, each serving as many as 8,000 people. Dr. Hodder's team has dug through all 16 layers to reach the lake bed from the Pleistocene era. From the excavations to date, said Shania Farid, the project's field director from the University College London, we find that all of the houses are built up against each other. There are no streets or alleys. It was a very dense population, but a lot of activity would have taken place at the roof level, and the traversing would have been at the roof level as well. And in between groups of houses, there were these open areas where they chucked out their rubbish. It's those areas that are the richest for us because they actually kept their houses very clean. Discuss and write. I will leave it to you to read all 6 of the questions and get your answers. Last page. Ms. Farid, deciphering the inscrutable part is part of the appeal. Archaeology will always engage people because it's putting a puzzle together, she said during an interview at the site, and it's a puzzle we will never, ever complete. There are always going to be missing pieces, and it's that sense of awe. That there are things we do today that people were doing 9,000 years ago. You can't help but be awed by that. We are trying to understand why they chose this spot to live. We look at what we call their art. Why were they so interested in bulls? Why were they using certain geometric designs? What were daily activities and what were ritual activities? We try to define this, she said. Are we looking at the beginnings of a religion? And what is this symbolism telling us about the beginnings of civilization? If it all sounds a bit like detective work, it is. The team even has fire forensics expert working at the site. Archaeology is a bit like CSI, Ms. Farid said, referring to the crime scene investigation television series. There are certain things we know happen. A wall is a wall is a wall, but someone else might turn up and say, why do you think that's a wall? And you look at them and you think, well, it's mud brick and it's a wall. Sometime in the future, someone will start questioning why we interpreted something as a wall. but for now we can only interpret based on the data that we have at hand. Discuss and write. How do we learn about people living during this time of history and what limits our ability to know more? And what kind of educated guesses do archaeologists have to make? And why do they have to guess in the first place?